Hello, everyone. My name is Pullam Jr., and I serve as the Director of Career Services today. Well, I serve as the Director of Career Services. Today, I have the privilege and honor of hosting one of our dear friends, Mr. Mark Pullam, who serves as the University Relations Director for Fidelity Investments. And today, he's going to be talking about video interviewing and video interviewing tips, meaning how you can succeed in your next interview opportunity that you will probably have in the future if you're job searching. So without further ado, I want to now turn it over to my good friend, Mark Pullam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, UNT Dallas. We are excited to be here today. We had a little technical difficulty on 2 days ago, and so we certainly wanted to make up for it and be here today to get a chance to share some video interviewing tips with you guys. So we'll jump right in. One of the things that will be more prevalent in the coming months and years is a company's ability and use of video interviewing as a tool. Currently, there are two platforms and two ways that they engage you with the video interview. The digital interview, which is you interacting with a platform service that has questions pre-recorded, and you make a video of your responses. That's one way. The platform that we use at Fidelity Investments is called HireVue, HireVue, HireVue. That's the platform that we use. We have questions that we can change and manipulate on the platform, and it asks you those questions, and we can look at your responses against other peers who are applying for the same job. So it's a great way for us to be able, and it also has a sophistication at this point to where we can skip right to the 10th question. And again, we can put side by side 2 different people or 3 different people answering the question and see how the answers differ. And we can forward and go backwards within the question to get very intricate into the point of where we want to hear the answer. So that's one platform. The other one, of course, is like we're doing now on a Zoom or Teams or other types of video platforms where you're in a live session with the employer. So I'm going to give you some tips. I also have a document I'm going to share with Mr. Lumsey that is our user guide for HireVue. So we're going to share that with him, and he can post it, and it'll just show you all the things that HireVue does and all of some of the things that you can use within the platform as both the user on our side and also for the applicant on your side. First thing I want to start off with today, since most of you guys will be using your own probably laptop, I want to show you this item that you all should have in your closet. Madeline, Evelyn, we don't have you on video anymore, but if you can see this, does anybody know what this is? Here, right? And it's a type of hanger that usually slacks are on, right? Because it has these clips, right? So you should have one of these in your closet. There's not an expense. This is a very powerful tool because your laptop, the top of it where the camera is usually pretty thin. You can clip one side to your laptop, and the things that I'm going to tell you today as to prepare, you can put that sheet of paper right here, and now it's at eye level. So you don't have to look down for your responses. So you can be just as cool as a news anchor broadcaster looking at a teleprompter. But one side will clip onto your laptop, and the other side you can make sure that you clip your notes in your paper. So I wanted to start off with that because that's a very important part of making sure. And in any interview, what you want to know is that you are competing against the next person that wants that same exact job. And whatever it is that shows that your preparation, who you are, and what you bring to the opportunity puts you ahead of that other person, you want that to be the lasting impression for that person that's doing the interviewing. So if it's the fact that you're keeping your eyes up and that you're making eye contact and that you have those types of skills, understand that that's just another tool that kind of puts you in front of the line. Another thing I want to go to before I start with this list is, can either one of you or anyone that's on the call tell me what is the only thing an employer wants to know when they are interviewing you? What is the singular most important thing that they want to know when they're interviewing you? Anybody have a guess? But this is it. Take note of this. If you remember this particular thing I'm going to tell you, in any job situation, if you remember to craft your answers and responses based on this premise, I promise you that you will make a lasting impression. This is the one thing that every employer wants to know. What happens when I put you in front of my customers? There's three things that can happen when I put you in front of my customers. Only one of them is good, the other two are bad. But if you remember that, what happens? So the correct answer is, so there's three things that can happen, right? Number one, we can lose the customer. Bad, correct? Number two, the relationship with the customer stays the same. Again, that's bad, no growth, right? The third thing is you can grow the customer. That has everything to do with your skill set, with your relationship management, etc. But I am most interested in what happens when I entrust you as an employee, as an associate, as a manager, as a director, as a VP. What happens when I put you in front of the customer? And the only acceptable answer is for you to grow that customer. Okay? So if you start to craft your responses with the customer in mind, let's say Mr. Lumsey is the owner of XYZ company, and you understand what his business premise is, you understand what job he's trying to hire you for, and you craft your answers to show him through your answers and examples of how your personality, your skill sets, your relationship building grows his business, I promise you he's going to hire you. He was only going to hire one person, but if you really knock it out of the park, and he's got to have you, and he already had somebody in mind, he will take you. Okay, so video interviewing tips. Number one, you want to research the company, just like a regular interview, okay? You want to go to that little tab that says About Us. You want to jot down these things. It's great if you have a photogenic memory, but I promise you, when you get into an organized interview, the interviewer's job is to make sure that they rattle you and get you off course. And the reason why they do that, because they want to know what happens when a customer does that to you. Do you freeze up? That's bad. Do you start saying things are not true just to get yourself out of the situation? Again, you've got to think of everything from the lens of a customer. So write down these things. I'm going to show you how to write them down here in just a second, but you write down these things. Vision, mission, go to Glassdoor, go to LinkedIn, see what you can find out about the company, know who the president CEO is, know where they're based out of, know what year they started, because one of the first questions they ask you in any interview is, tell me what you know about the company. Okay? You could have stayed up all night memorizing things, and at that very moment, your mind's going to scramble. And you're going to be like, you're not going to be able to remember your name, let alone the information that you stayed up all night. So jot down some notes. I'm going to show you where to put those here in just a second. Go to LinkedIn. If you can find out who you're interviewing with, see what you can find out about them on LinkedIn. Who knows? They may have in their LinkedIn profile that they graduated from UNT Dallas, or they're doing a master's program at UNT Dallas, or you may see they have a connection and relationship with Arthur Lumsey. These are good things to know. These are things in an interview that you want to connect. The interview is all about the connection point between you and the interviewer. Again, that shows the interviewer, the company, the brand, what happens when you have an assignment with a customer. They know you're going to do your due diligence. They know you're going to find out what you need to know, and they know that you're going to build that relationship. Find out who do you know that works there. Most companies have a referral bonus that they offer to their associates for bringing in other good people. Find somebody on LinkedIn. Find somebody you know that works there start to talk with them, ask them, can you just check with them to find out about the culture in the company? And then say, if you don't mind, you know, can I be a referral? Right? They're not going to mind. Usually there's a monetary bonus for referring someone who gets hired. And get a feel for the climate, get a feel for the culture. Even if they come to work in t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops, you overdress for the interview. You make sure that you show yourself as a professional, and let them have to tell you, oh man, we don't wear ties around here. Go ahead and take that tie off. Go ahead and just relax a little bit. And that's fine, okay? You can always dress down, but once you're dressed down, you can't dress back up in the moment. Second thing is, when they give you some options on scheduling, what time would you like to do the interview? What day? First thing you want to do is make sure you take the first one available, because you want to be first to the table, right? But just like for school, how you never, and you shouldn't, I don't know what classification you guys are, but at some point you figure out that unless this is a class I can't get it any other time in my program, I do not take an 8 o'clock class, right? Y'all know that, right? You do not take an 8 a.m. class, right? So think about that when they're scheduling times for you. Yeah, you want to be the first one on their calendar, but do not get an 8 a.m. class. I mean, it's just not a good idea. Check your room, the lighting, the setting. You don't want a lot of shadows. Mine is going back and forth kind of in now with shadows on this side of my face. If I was getting an interview that I really wanted, I'd make sure that I kind of flood some light in here so everything is crisp, so everything is sharp, and all my sides, whichever my side is my good side, I'll make sure that I got the right lighting. You guys, where you're at, looks like you got consistent lighting across the room. But this is all that you're going to do in a technical check first. You want to make, me and Mr. Lumsey, we scheduled a technical check Tuesday, and that's when we found out that we had the wrong number out there. So you want to make sure that you do that. Your background. The background is very important. You never know about the interviewer. If they have something, there's something where they hate people who drink alcohol. You got a Budweiser poster or can or something in the background. Just know what's behind you, okay? Test your sound, whether to wear headsets or not. You know, if you want to kind of block out, if you know there's ancillary noise around you, you want to block that out with some headphones, that may be fine. You know, tell everybody in the house, hey, I got an interview, put a note on the outside the door, quiet on the set, in the studio, whatever. Do not disturb, do not come in while I'm doing this. You want to always dress professionally. Again, you want to dress up, not dress down. You want to always act as if this is in person, live and in person. Dark clothes. I'm wearing absolutely the wrong thing for this, because sometimes white can kind of seem like it's glowing, as opposed to a neutral color, like a light blue, pastels, things that are soft, that when light hits them, the light doesn't bounce back off of it, but it kind of absorbs and makes it look good. You don't want to be glowing, but you want to wear dark and then accent it subtly with colors. Put up pets, kids, secure space, grooming. You know, look good, feel good, you're going to perform well. But you know, I'd go through my regular routine as if I was going into an office to meet someone. If your routine is, you know, taking a shower, putting on your makeup, or combing your hair, or shaving your head, what have you, go through that entire routine. I usually, whenever I have an interview and I'm going somewhere, I usually start just like I'm planning to go to the airport. I'm up 3 hours ahead of time, so I can take my time. I don't rush, my heartbeat's not up, and I can just take my time to get into my zone, get into the room that we're gonna be doing it in, you know, 30 minutes early, so I can do my technical check. I can get everything set up where I needed to get set up, and I can just be ready. And also, don't forget about your enthusiasm. You know, if you got your clip to the side, you got your notes I'm going to tell you about here in a second, be enthusiastic, smile, keep that eye contact. Now, let's get to the good part. Now, whether this is a digital interview, whether this is an in-person interview. So for an in-person interview, you guys know what a Padfolio is? Usually it's a little leather, kind of bound, kind of thick. One side it has a little pocket. The other side it has like a tablet. You know what I mean? A Padfolio. He's going to show you one right there. If you're going into a live interview, those are perfect because it's expected that on one side of that you're going to have the resume for yourself. You're going to need one for yourself because they're going to ask you questions about the resume that you attached, right? So you need one for yourself. So when they ask you things, you can look at it. And then you're going to have some copies if you're doing a live interview to hand out to other people. But when you're in a digital interview, so on one side of your desk where you're seated, you're going to have the resume. The other side, you're going to take a sheet of paper, whether it's lined or whether it's just a white printer piece of paper. And at minimum, you're going to divide it into 4 quadrants. So if it's just simple, one line straight up and down in the middle, and then one line across, and you'll have 4 quadrants, right? And in one quadrant, you want to put those notes you took about the company, the about us. You start off with the year that they were established. Maybe you want to start off with the person that was the first CEO or who established the company. Then you want to put who's the current president and CEO, the city that they are based out of. Maybe information about where they are locally. Vision statement, mission statement, how many people the company employs. Everything in that little quadrant is going to tell you when they say, tell me a little bit about our company. If you need to glance, because you got it sitting over here to the side, you can look in that quadrant and see everything you need to know about that company. Usually what happens is when you try to memorize it, but you don't write it down, you forget it. But when you write it and you memorize it and it's there for you to reference, everything pulls up. It's odd how that works, right? So, but you've got it. So one quadrant is going to have the about us, okay? The other quadrant is going to have examples of leadership, examples of customer service, examples of clubs you may have been a part of, projects you may have done. You don't have to write out the entire thing, but give yourself some buzzwords. So when they say, tell me about a time when you displayed leadership for a group, you can put maybe a buzzword of what group it was and what you did in the group. And you want to use the STAR method, STAR, situation, task, action, result. You want to hit those 4 things, talk about it, and then get off of it, and let them come back to you with follow questions about what they asked. But give yourself some buzzwords. So in that quadrant, you're gonna have some leadership things, or talk about some of the different projects you've been on, or some of the student organizations that you were part of, or places where you were the treasurer for the student investment group, or you were the treasurer for your sorority. That's the quadrant you want to put that stuff in, okay? The next quadrant is going to be if there's technical aspects to the job, or if there's things where there's certain buzzwords or elements of the job that people might ask you about. For instance, if you say you are a math major and statistician, etc., there's going to be some key formulas and things. Put those into that quadrant. So you can look at them real quick and say, oh, yeah. But again, they're going to ask you a goofy question. It's going to scramble your brain, and you're going to be like, man, I know this, like I know the back of my head, but I can't come up with it right now. You're just going to glance over that quadrant. It's going to be right there waiting for you, okay? And then the 4th quadrant, just whatever else you need. Now, if you're in a live interview, you're going to have those quadrants on your right, and while you're talking, you're going to take notes. So you want them to think that it's just your notepad, okay? But you've got all your information. Also, say for instance, we're doing a Zoom interview, but instead of Mr. Lumsey just being in the room by himself, he's got 4 people. So it's not like this where you got a box and it tells you what everybody's name is. So the way that they're seated, when they introduce themselves, write their names down, maybe in that 4th quadrant, the way that you see them seated. Because you'll get into the interview and you'll want to respond to Mr. Lumsey and you'll totally forget what his name is. Or the person that's sitting next to him, and you want to say, hey, Jim, that's a great question, blah, 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 blah. But if you don't remember his name, you can't even incorporate that into your question. Again, it goes back to what happens when I put you in front of a customer. How do you remember the customer's name? This might be a $5 million customer. And then you're talking to them and you don't give them their name back. They're like, this person's not even listening to me. I'm not even important enough for them to remember my name. Okay? So find somewhere where they introduce themselves. Even the person that's doing the interview, write his name down, because I'm telling you, they throw out goofy questions that really catch you off guard. Have a plan. Sometimes they ask you, what's your 60-day plan? What's your 180-day plan? What's your 2-year plan? Where do you see yourself? And they may say, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, or 5 years, or 10 years? Break it down into smaller increments. You say, well, I was thinking in shorter time frames than that. I was actually thinking about the first 60 days, thinking about the training, thinking about how I'm going to make sure that I'm really learning and getting into this information. And then at the 180-day mark, throw it back to them. At 180 days, I've gone through training. I've got my feet wet. I should know what I'm doing now. What are your expectations? Where do you want me to be in 180 days? Where do you want me to be in 18 months? And what you really want to hear them say is that in 180 days, I want you fully ramped up. I want you rocking and rolling. I want you doing this and that. And then in 18 months, I want you to start going to people to shadow them so we can get you ready for leadership. Okay? So even if they ask you, you want to turn that back around and compress that time period, because you want to show them that you're not looking way down the road. You're looking at what your impact is going to be right now. How you're going to be trained and how can you contribute right now. They may also ask you a question, why do you want to work for us? So put an answer to that in that 4th quadrant. Why do you want to work for us? Also, they could start off the interview asking you, tell me a little bit about yourself. You don't know whether to start back in kindergarten or start in elementary or start in high school and go forward. Usually a good rule of thumb, if you're just graduating from college, you can say, hey, I'm from South Oak Cliff, part of town. I went to XYZ High School, and now I'm a student here at the University of North Texas, Dallas. I enjoy XYZ. I've been a member of the student club. I've worked here. I love people. Whatever it is, have about 15 to 20 seconds. If you found something about that person on LinkedIn that you can use, maybe you're from the same place, same college, the same high school, they like to kayak from Lake Louisville, whatever it is, find something that brings you together with that person and use that in your opening remarks. Make sure you smile. I'm talking really fast right now, but make sure you take your time, have a measured approach, but don't seem robotic. Make sure that you're listening. Take notes. Expound on answers. Don't give one-word answers, but don't be too verbose. Don't go too far in answering questions, and make it a good dialogue. Everybody does behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when. Again, use the STAR approach: situation, task, action, result. It's always good. Oh, and that 4th quadrant, you also want to have 5 to 7 questions, because some of your questions are going to be answered during the interview. So you want to have at least 3 that you can come back and hit them with. So put 5 to 7 in one of those boxes so you can kind of glance down. Never leave an interview and they ask you, do you have any questions? And you don't have any questions. Just not a good idea. But find some good questions that you can ask. Again, if you want to go back to, what does success look like? What should I be doing at 180 days? What should I be doing in 18 months? What goals should I set for myself? What would tell you that I'm doing really good? And don't forget to ask for the job. A lot of times when I've interviewed before and they kind of jokingly asked me, about my availability, and they say, hey, Mark, if we were to go with you, when would you be available? If this is a morning interview, I say, well, let's go have lunch and I'll be ready to start when we get back. It's a joke, right? But it lets them know I'm dead serious. And if I can do that without giving my company a 2-week notice, I would literally go to lunch with you and get on board this afternoon, okay? But in the same light, you have to be able to ask for the job in a way that's not aggressive, but it lets them know how serious you are and how interested you are to be a part of the company. Another tough question that they ask is, why are you leaving your current job? You never want to say anything negative about the previous job. You want to talk only in the future. You want to talk only in the positive. So your response may be something like, this opportunity that you're presenting to me as a manager of XYZ, I think it's the natural progression in my professional career. The things that I've done at the company where I'm at now, I'm very ready to take the next step. I've managed this many people directly or indirectly, or I've been trained to do this or that. Speak in the future, speak positively. Even if you hate the old company, you hate the people that you work for, they did you terrible. We don't need to rehash that. We just need to think about what's going forward. The dreaded question about your strengths and weaknesses. Everybody hates that question. You got to have a response ready. I've made up responses in the past. One was, and everybody that knows me knows that this is a total lie, but I would use this as an example. You know, when I first became a professional, I really was shy. I didn't like to present to audiences. I didn't like to make presentations. Public speaking was just not something that I was very good at, but I had a mentor who showed me how to prepare for public speaking, showed me how to enjoy being in front of people, having my information, and it gave me confidence. And right now, I love speaking to large audiences. I love giving presentations, on and on and on and on, right? But anybody knows me from birth knows I want to get up in the front and talk, right? So, but that's something that you can use, something you do well right now, and just talk about a time when you were on your way to getting to that. And it shows your weakness and how you made it a strength, okay? You always want to close the interview also by showing your appreciation, not only asking for the job, thanking them for their time. An appreciation email is always in order. Very brief, very short. Make sure that they remember who you are, but very, very brief, very, very short. A thank you card is still in order these days. I don't know if they'll get it until they get back to the office, but show your appreciation. Never lose sight of the meeting being formal. Don't never get too lax. Like even now, I'm not leaning all the way back in my chair. Okay, I've got posture, got my shoulders up, trying to keep my presence right in front of you, not lounging back, just kind of casually, you know, giving you this information. So always remember that it's formal. Even if the conversation gets to be like you guys are best buddies, keep it formal. Guys and gals, make sure that if it's a video interview that you wear pants. You'll get up to reach for something, and even though you got on designer boxers or pajamas or whatever, it will be highly embarrassing. Trust me. Dress fully for the same routine that you would have for a live interview. Keep the same routine. Don't say anything that can be played over and over, whether it's recorded or whether it's in their mind. Be very intentional and thoughtful about what you say. Again, if you need to make some notes in these quadrants, things to kind of, you know, so you don't say things just to keep from saying or a silent kind of 3 to 5 seconds that can be uncomfortable. One thing that I like to see in interviews that is really impressive to me is people who can memorize large chunks of information and then regurgitate it. And what that just shows to me is that it's an attention to detail. It also shows me that you really know the subject matter, okay? Because if whatever you do best, if I asked you about it, you could probably talk for 15, 20 minutes. And that's what I mean by memorizing information, being able to give it back, look me dead in the eye, and just talk passionately about a particular subject. So whatever it is about the company, like I said, if you want to memorize everything about us, they probably won't even ask you about it. But if they do, you can rattle off all these things. You know, Fidelity was started in 1946 by Mr. Edward C. Johnson, who passed it on to Mr. Edward C. Johnson III, who passed it on to his daughter, Abigail Johnson, who's now the president and CEO of the company, based out of Boston, Massachusetts, privately held. The Johnson family still has controlling interest. But you see what I mean? If you were applying for that job and you were giving me all that about Fidelity, I'm like, yo, she did her homework. He did his homework. I'm impressed. Because again, if I put you in front of a customer and we need to know about that customer, and the customer says, hey, what do you know about me? And you give them all of that kind of information, if you're sales or you're whatever, you're going to get the deal. Because everybody likes to hear the good and accurate information about themselves. Another thing is, if you have a laptop and you're going to be doing it, elevate your laptop, right? So sit it on top of something so the angle is more this way than this way. And sometimes if you have it sitting up on something, it rises up the level. It's just an optical trick. And then, of course, again, we talked about whether to headset or not to headset. You know, if you got a quiet place and you know you're not going to be disturbed, if you don't have to use a headset, don't, you know, having the little iPod things sticking out of your ears or big cups around your head. And practice the night before. Get on the video, practice, or get in the mirror, know what you're going to look like, always be crisp, always have everything in order. And just practice. So, questions? You can ask anything.
There's a question from the chat. It states from Erica, what about a portfolio during a virtual interview?
It would probably be a little more cumbersome in a virtual interview because you're limiting your space. You can spread out a lot more because the camera can't see those documents, right? So I can put them right in front of me on the thing to the side. So the Padfolio is kind of going to probably limit you. You would probably rather have it more spread out just so you feel more access to more information. The Padfolio, when you're in a live interview, you know, you want them to think that you're taking notes and that you have your resume on this side. And it's kind of a hidden camera kind of thing when you're in a live interview. What else?
I know one of my tricks has been having a computer pulled up. Also sometimes as well with having, like on my iPad, having an outline.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or being able to Google something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Night before that preparation, everything's got to be charged up. Everything you got to, yeah, you can't have any technical difficulties.
Can I add something to that? Because I feel like anything that can happen to a person in an interview that's probably bad has happened to me. So I can tell you what I did. And one of the things I did, of course, I tried to log back in. Didn't happen. So I ended up, luckily, one of my things I like to have built-in redundancy plans. So I had a phone number of my main contact. So after trying to work it out on my computer and it not working, I ended up calling them on my phone, and I ended up having to complete the interview on my phone.
That was a good save.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't make you feel any better, but it
absolutely. So whenever you're having a video interview, make sure you get all the relevant information. Like, say, for instance, if it's on Zoom, Zoom will provide you, of course, with the Zoom ID number, but it will also provide you with the phone number too. And what may not work on one channel may work on another channel.
Yes, absolutely. In what we do, and we work together in the Career Center at UNT Denton, and every day we're sharing different things about what we're learning, about what works, what doesn't, and it's always the simple things that are overlooked And the same thing in an interview. You know, you can come in ready to spit out every formula or every author of some theory, but when it comes down to it, they want to know about you, because you are the commodity. You are the thing that will continue their business, will continue them being in a leadership position because they hire good people. And you want to keep things simple. You want to let your personality shine through. You want to let your passions shine through. You want to let just your genuine nature be the thing that they remember the most about you. They can, you know, any job can teach you what they want you to know. And sometimes they prefer that you know less so they can teach you to do it the way they want you to do it. So keep it simple and be practical. And that's all that Hanger represents. Being practical, keeping things simple. I could go tell you to go buy something that would cost $20. Why? Why? This works just as good as anything you're gonna buy off the internet for $19.99. This is a professional setup for your laptop computer. No, it's not. It's a hanger.
That's rebranding.
Exactly.
And it happens a lot.
It does. It does. So what else? What did I miss anything, Mr. Lumsey? Anything you want to expound upon? Again, we work together. Don't think because he asked me to do this that he doesn't know all of this and more. It's just sometimes it's better to have someone else to relay the information. But he's a great resource. He's a great friend. I know personally how much he puts into his job, how much he really thinks about the students, and how many times he calls me looking for opportunities for the students. So you guys have an incredible resource there at the school. And I'm just thankful that people care enough about their jobs that it's just not a check, that they want to set up things for you like this. So, you know, once you get it, but here's the key. Once you get your professional job, reaching back to him and to students to do this very thing, because what we're telling you now, you're going to experience it to some certain level, and the students will hear it better from you than they'll ever hear it from myself or him. So when you leave, make sure that you reach back and help the next group of UNT Dallas, because that's what it comes down to. When I get 2 or 3 people from UNT Dallas to come work at Fidelity Investments and they do an awesome job, those managers tell me, hey, come back to UNT Dallas, get me some more just like that. And it only takes 1 or 2. And that's what we just hired a young lady from UNT Dallas, Arthur, about 2 weeks ago, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw her today live on our team meeting. And I'd already written her earlier today. We talked on IM, but he told me that she was there. And so I reached out to her, and now, you know, in a semi type of mentor role where she has somebody she can come to and talk to about what it means to work at Fidelity when if she needs someone to talk to, because of the relationship that we have and the relationship that he told her to get in contact with me. So that's what the bigger picture of all what career services, career development, what it means to be a professional, what it means to have an alma mater. That's how all of this ties in together. We enjoy making sure that you have what you need. You know, if my fist is so tight, I could have $1 billion in here, but if I keep my fist so tight, I can't spend it either. But if I open it up and to spend it, I can share it with other people. And that's what both of us are about.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, is it true that is Fidelity Investments still hiring?
Fidelity Investments, even in this very difficult time, we are one of the few employers. We're actually going to hire 2,000 more people through the end of the year. That it was going to be a pandemic, but we were testing in January overseas in our Ireland and India office. By chance, if something happened where everybody had to go remote, and we actually tested in January, and once it happened here, you know, we have 44,000 employees worldwide. and all of us are working remote, and our systems can handle it. So we had a platform that they had already fortified to be able to handle all of us on Zoom, all of us on Teams, all of us on email, Skype, and we're all at home. So yeah, but we are hiring. The entry point job is called customer relationship advocate, and the things I'm telling you about what happens when you put them in front of a customer. We have 30 million customers. The most important thing is, I don't care if you're investing $5 with us or 50 million, we do not want to lose you as a customer. So when a customer calls in and you started this customer relationship advocate job, your bonus is based on how well you treat the customer. You see what I mean? So it's not that you sell them something or upsell. You can't sell them anything. You're there to help the customer that calls in. It's not an outbound call. It's an inbound call of somebody who's already with us. And that's the most important thing, is that we treat them with the empathy, with the respect, with the dignity every single time, because it's some tough conversations. You know, you could have a wife calling in whose husband just died. She got the either she got insurance money, she wants to know how to invest that or pass it on to her grandkids or her kids. I mean, all types of things. And you have to be in a frame of mind where you're not thinking, oh, you got $3 million, let's do this. No. The first thing is, you know, I know this is a difficult time. I can't imagine what's going on. I haven't been in that situation, but as your financial representative, I'm here for you. Whatever it is that you want to do, you let me know. We will explore that for you, and we'll make sure that you're very well taken care of. Not, you know, well, since you got $3 million, I know about this great stock that you should. No, no, just that's not good customer service, not good customer relation. Now, they may call saying that, and it's fine at that point, but that's the type of people that we must have to make sure that we stay in business another 70 years. So what else? You got me. You guys got me. You can ask me anything you want. Open book. Well, Mr. Lumsey, I think they have had enough of me talking fast today. But definitely, I always enjoy it. You guys can look me up on LinkedIn, send a connection. I have like 24,000 connections. I probably know somebody that you want to meet or connect with. So again, we're all about helping. We're not so far removed from the stuff that we you know, just don't want to do it.
We have one more question for you.
Okay.
How do you advise to sell yourself when interviewing for a field that you have no experience in, but are trying to venture into a new career? I have found that usually most employers do not exactly favor people who are older for internships or new careers.
Correct. So you said two things there. Okay, number one, if you're an experienced individual, internships are out the door. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because even though you may want to get into that industry at the entry point, just come in at the entry point, right? An internship is certainly something where you think about from an undergrad standpoint between years of classification. If you're someone who's been working 5, 7, 10 years, anytime you work, it's for your livelihood. It's not to gain experience. It's for your livelihood. And interns, even though they're paid pretty well these days, again, it's not something that supports a livelihood. Second thing is, if you're trying to switch industries, I've done it several times in my career. It's a lot easier now. Why I say it's a lot easier, you can learn to do anything online. I mean, and this is no plug for CNN, but CNN has a store. If you Google that, and I mean, from learning how to code to learning how to do all kinds of things, they have these courses. I mean, sometimes they're like $3. I'm talking about courses that are $3,000. They're $3, $12. But the point you made was having an interview changing industry. Number one, if you get the interview, right, they're ready to hear. So you definitely need to research. You definitely need to know the very basics. So if you get into an interview, you're always pushing the fact of, this is what I do know, this is what I'm excited to learn, and that I'm in a learning mode. I'm happy to be here. I don't know everything, but this is the company where I want to grow. I'm changing industries. I'm so very serious about it. I've probably logged 20 to 30 hours just in learning this particular skill set. I really want to be able to do it in action. But if you get the interview, anytime you get the interview, it's not because they don't have anything to do, right? If you get the interview, you got a chance. You got a shot. And let me say this about interviews. Sometimes you can go to an interview, know that you're going to bomb, or get in the interview and start to bomb. But if you start to bomb, or you're bombing, you better get every piece of information you need for the next interview. If you're bombing and you realize you're bombing, you try to extract everything that they say, write down all the notes, hear the way that they say it, the words, because there's different little buzzwords in all these industries. So you can go home and study that, and then you can get to that next interview, and you've already heard it before, and now you know how to respond. Okay, so don't worry about if you get in and bomb. It can happen, right? But don't get mad and cry and walk out or get frustrated. Get everything you need out of that interview, and just tell them, it's like, I realize I don't have everything that you're looking for, but again, I'm learning. And I'm gonna eventually get there. Can you tell me more about this? I know I may not be the right fit, and I don't want to waste your time, but who knows? 10 years from now, I may be an expert, and you may want to bring me back. Use it to your advantage. Every situation can be used to your advantage. But if you get the interview, you got a shot.
Are there any other questions from you guys? Okay, I think that is it.
Yeah. We kept it to just about an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, I can't say thank you enough for taking the time out your day to speak to our students on a very relevant topic, one that I feel is going to be more prevalent as we continue to go through, and that will probably still be here post COVID-19. I feel like more employers are utilizing platforms like HireVue, and they will continue to as they try to, one, save costs, but then also two, interview as many candidates as possible, and it allows them to do both. And I think our students are going to be better positioned, particularly those who have took the time to attend today's webinar. So I can't say thank you so much. And we look forward to hosting you again very, very soon on our campus and on the Zoom platform as well.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. I'm there for you guys.
Awesome sauce.